The ongoing damage to and theft of economic infrastructure has damaged confidence and severely constrained economic growth, investment, and job creation. At the same time, we need to confront the criminal gangs that invade construction sites and other business places to extort money from companies. This will require a focused and coordinated response. Government is therefore going to move ahead, and we've established specialized multidisciplinary units to address economic sabotage, extortion at construction sites, and vandalization of infrastructure.
South Africa's construction industry is losing billions due to the criminal conduct of the so-called construction mafia. It's not a victimless crime, as communities suffer the consequences of losing out on service delivery when projects are abandoned. Good evening, I'm Aldrin Simpier and welcome to Unfiltered. The construction mafia, though, claims that their fight is against the lack of transformation within the construction industry. But who exactly is the construction mafia? To further help us with this discussion, we are joined by Malusi Zondi, who is the president of one of the so-called construction mafia groupings, who go by the name of the Black Business Federation. We are also joined from our Sea Point studio by the president of the South African Institute of Civil Engineers, Professor Marian van der Schuppen, who will be joining us a bit later on. We're also joined by the chairperson of the Mitchells Plain Community Forum, Jacques Bartman. Remember that you can also be part of the conversation by going onto our social media platforms using the handle at Unfiltered SABC, that is at Unfiltered SABC, or you can go onto our Facebook page and just search for Unfiltered SABC, that is Unfiltered SABC. Mr. Bartman, I'd like to start off the conversation from your end, though. What has the impact have been by the construction mafia, and what are community members saying? Good evening.
Well, very good evening to you, very good evening to the viewers. It is of grave concern, but we also need to put this, the construction mafia into perspective. My understanding is that you have two groups in the various categories, where on the one hand you have organized crime who've transformed themselves into legitimate businesses who are invading construction sites. And then on the other hand, you have black economic empowerment groups or community-based organizations also fighting for a 30% stake in the various projects. What is worrying, since this problem was detected in KwaZulu-Natal, over the years, hundreds of projects has been affected in major infrastructure and construction projects, all right? And this is to the tune of billions and billions of rands, various job losses, and this cannot continue at the rate it's going right now.
Yeah, speak to us about the impact, though, that it has had on communities, and from your vantage point as well, what is it that the community members are telling you about the impact of some of these projects being abandoned?
Well, of course, it is a problem, and right now we have a project, the Swart Club development in Mitchells Plain, where we have had two security guards shot about 2 years ago. And although that is not the overwhelming supporting fact for the project being come to a standstill, it has a contributing fact, safety and security. And this is a grave concern to all the community organizations involved in community projects.
And how would you love to see the government responding to those?
Well, government alone cannot do this, of course. We need partnerships with community-based organizations. You need partnerships with the police. You need government that needs to tighten up legislation so that we can adequately and comprehensively deal with this project.
Okay. Malusi, let's quickly hear from you. Good evening. Thank you so much for making time for us. Listening into what Jacques had to say there about the impact of the conduct of the so-called construction mafia, what's your response to it?
Thank you, Adran. Good evening to the viewers at home. Adrian, you see, I appreciate what my brother is saying there. Maybe, but just to give you a brief background, this narrative of a construction mafia, to us, is still questionable. I am coming from KwaZulu-Natal, where the population is major, with black Africans in particular, in townships, in rural areas, in rural urban areas, where you've got massive numbers of young people who have capacity to implement developments, where you've got people who are engineers, who are qualified. Further to that, you've got massive projects that have been happening in their own areas. We must separate, is correct, we must separate. But for us to formalize this construction mafia, to us it's a taboo. Every time when black Africans in particular, and blacks in general, are trying by all means to stand up and say, we cannot allow the status quo to proceed or continue, we are treated as criminals. Yes, there will be those who become aggressive simply because they cannot tolerate the status quo. When you go to their own areas, you will find massive multi-billion rand developments. Those developments are happening in front of their areas. They've got a wish that they'll get employment. They've got a wish that they'll get skills, but unfortunately they don't. As we are currently speaking, there are lots of developments that after us rebranding from Federation of Radical Economic Transformation, simply because we're running away from the narrative which clearly, slowly aligned us to politics. We are not politicians, as I'm sitting here.
Yeah, I'll come back to the question around politicians, but then there's an issue with the demand may be legitimate to say that there must be some transformation that happens, that can't come into an area and the people of those areas don't benefit from the multi-billion rand projects that you speak of. But then the conduct that then becomes violent. Jacques, for instance, speaks about security officers who became victims in a crossfire.
Yes, definitely. You see, we must separate again. There are those who want to hijack a good cause. We've always said the law must take its course. We cannot allow a situation whereby terrorism is going to infiltrate our struggle. Yes, there will be those who are doing that, but not where I come from. I do not know. However, I can calculate numbers of people who have benefited to our struggle. We have made sure that jobs are being created. Here, you've got mothers, you've got youth, you've got women in particular, and people with disabilities. How then a person from a local who is disabled will become a construction mafia?
But does it make it difficult for you guys at all? You say that you are part of a legitimized group and that yours is formal, but then you also have those, as Jacques has pointed out as well, who go on and their modus operandi is criminal.
Why are they not getting arrested?
Do you know of them?
No, I don't know of any. Then police must take rights to arrest.
Have you heard of them?
Yes, well, there is a situation whereby all of the people who are doing wrong things are classified as a forum which is called Dela Ngokubona. Again, Dela Ngokubona is part of our members. Yes, in the beginning, because this thing began 10 years ago, as I've said, when we went throughout and said enough is enough, people must wake up, they must participate in their own economy, people must learn, people must share skills. These big companies, their tendency before, they never wanted to share. But now we had aggressive engagements with organized groups. However, they are willing for people to share. There is limited. Wherever you go, it's easy for us to work with the police and identify those. But so far, there is limited cases whereby people are arrested because they've invented.
But do you know of them?
I've heard in Gauteng, yes.
You've heard of them?
Yes.
But you don't know of them personally?
We don't know those who are thugs.
And Malusi, I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, because if there is a group that goes about it in an illegal way, it also then it dents you guys as well, your brand or your image as well. So you want to tell me that you don't know of them? You just heard about them? You don't?
We are refusing our struggle to be identified by people we don't know. As we speak, Global Institute has profiled me and called me a mafia and a criminal and a dark. They are saying we go with AK-47 on site.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they have not even opened one case. However, they don't attend to this monopoly that we are faced with. They don't attend to people who have big contracts for many years, which they are not sharing according to the policy which is currently here in South Africa.
Okay. Jacques, because we need to let you go, I just quickly want to hear your response to what Malusi had to say now, and also what the way forward should be.
Well, of course, we have this, what we call broad-based black economic empowerment and transformation. Now, we don't see a situation on the ground where best effect are given to broad-based black economic empowerment and of transformation of the and giving empowerment opportunities to our people on the ground. And this is creating a bottleneck where people are getting frustrated because the projects happens within the community, but there's no real meaningful benefits to the people who are living in the area. So one need to look at how black economic empowerment and transformation are being implemented on the ground, because right now it's only white established companies that really benefit from this multi-million rand projects. And they are not really cooperating with communities and seeing that there's transfer of skills and how they can also grow into becoming more established businesses. So they will continue to operate like small bucky operators, what we call it. And yeah, we need to open up the opportunities. That is exactly what I'm trying to say here.
Thank you so much for that. That is Jacques Bartman, who is the Mitchells Plain United Development Forum chairperson. When we come back, the conversation we're going to have is also looking into whether the ground has been laid bare and fertile as well for the so-called construction mafia to also claim that 30%, considering that the argument that has been put forward is that the construction sector is failing to evolve and the construction sector is failing to transform. And welcome back to Unfiltered with me, Aldrin St. Pierre, as we focus on the construction mafia and also asking you this evening, what do you know about the construction mafia and what's your assessment of the construction mafia? Is it a case of transformation or is it a case of extortion? Joining us this evening is the Black Business Federation's Malusi Zondi, who's joining us in studio. And we're also now joined by the president of SAICA, Professor Marian van der Skuren, who's joining us from our Cape Town studio. Prof, let's start off the conversation with you. You took a listen to what Jacques had to say and what Malusi had to say. Is it really a case of a transformation or is it a case of extortion, or could both be at play?
Thank you for having me, and good evening to the listeners. From my side, if I look at transformation under our membership, and our institute is the South African Institution of Civil Engineering. We have 15,000 members. We are a voluntary organization. The membership is a third or so students, a third candidates, and a third professional engineers. 20% of our engineers are female, and around 60 to 70% are people of color, Black, Indian, etc. So transformation has been happening. What I do agree with is where we don't see transformation in our institution yet is at the higher ranks. The people that are training are still mainly white South Africans. So the transformation is not happening yet. People coming from the bottom up. But I've gone around the country this year as the president, and it's amazing to see how many people of color are working on projects, taking charge of projects, starting their own companies. So that has all been very positive. With regards to the construction industry specifically, remember we also have members that are in the design offices. If we are looking at sites, what we do see is that there are problems with security. We have heard from Mr. Bartman already, and that is costing, and that cost goes onto the project. So that extra costs, economic costs, as well as social costs, as Mr. Bartman said, will be calculated onto the costs, and therefore our construction projects are becoming more expensive.
Yeah. And from the level of companies being awarded contracts or tenders, or sometimes even it's private developments that take place that also become victims to the so-called construction mafia, would you say that there has been some transformation that has been noted there at all? Because my other thing about it is that with the big companies, for instance, there is a grading that's also used before a tender is awarded to say that a particular company has a certain grading, which means that this particular tender or contract can only go to such and such a company.
You're talking about the BE grading, I assume, and yes, there are plenty of companies around the country, smaller ones and bigger ones, that have high BEE status. Level 9, level 10 are all part of that.
No, I'm speaking about the engineering grading that a small company wouldn't have because they don't have the experience, for instance, to build a bridge, as an example.
So we do see joint ventures, and we do have capacity in the country. What we see is that at the moment, and I'm a transport engineer, we see that in transport, some of the projects that were awarded in the past, even as early as 2017, were abandoned because of security issues, and now they are much more expensive in the implementation. So. Of course, you need to have the experience to do extremely difficult projects. Where I think the issues are is that at this moment in time, the government investment in the construction industry is low, is much lower than they indicate themselves. It's lower than the promises in SONA, for example. And so there is not enough work going around, and that's where you have people fighting over sites and security issues coming in.
Yeah, and Malusi, then your response to this question around projects being abandoned because there is that demand for 30%.
Thank you. I want us to relate our talks with facts. I'm from KZN. In KwaZulu-Natal, we had too many projects which we have built. As you are correctly saying, all projects are classified through CIDP grading. Particularly grade 9s, grade 8s, and grade 7s are the bigger contracts, which when they bid having their own prices. The SMMEs, particularly from locals, have registered companies, they comply. Now, if they want to tender, they are going to be told by bigger contractors that, listen, this is our allowable price. Now, through the allowable price, the contractors are going to participate, given a price by the contractor. Now, when a contractor bids, they have much money within specifics within the contract, and then the SMMEs are going to execute whatever that the contractor gives. Now, what we are saying as Black Business Federation is, let us work together for empowerment. Hence, we have engaged Black Business Council, SABC, to say, let us move forward. Let all their members sit down with us so that when we go to the ground level, we don't clash. It is not necessarily business forums, but most of the projects which have stopped before have been stopped by the contractors because they are not generating any profits whatsoever. They become slaves. They execute jobs. The engineers are getting small amounts even after. Most of them, even when they complete the projects, end up with debt. I've got more than 40 people who have come to me in different sites and different contractors where they implemented projects. At the end of the day, they don't get a loan from the bank because these banks are white-owned. They don't give people money. The likes of some banks, higher banks. Now our people get to be victimized. And because they are afraid to speak, they are waiting for opportunities.
Are there any politicians behind the construction mafia that you know of?
There is no politician. However, as I've said, this meaning of a construction mafias are those who come from all areas to come and bring developments in our own areas, in our own particular locals, and they don't share. Now, there are no politicians behind Black businesses. They've got the rights. Business people are autonomous. They've got the rights. They are taxpayers. When they want to participate, they follow the rule. However, as Black Business Federation, as I've said, we have went throughout. We have not only formalized ourselves into construction. We are looking towards embarking on different sectors of economy where our people are willing to participate. As we are talking with you, we're engaging Sandral. When you go to Sandral as we speak, N3 and N2, people are working there. There is no such stoppages, even one. We just opened a mall, Oceans, driven by PIC and also a Vivian Ready, where people participated together. It's people who delivered that thing under WHO. So when people are working together, we can assure skills, we can assure development. Yeah. So, yes.
Okay. Prof, when we come back, I'd just like you to answer that question as well relating to politicians being linked to the construction mafia and whether you have any knowledge of that, because that was something that was cited by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, and we'll tell you more about that report as well. The conversation continues, and we'll take some of your tweets as well at Unfiltered SABC, and remember that our Facebook page is Unfiltered SABC. And welcome back. Let's look at some of the tweets that you've sent through. This one from Sipo Dimba, who says, construction mafia is a derogatory name given to men who are opposed to strangers coming to do business in the former's area without the involvement of the locals. And this one, Abantu Abangoni, says, Eldrin, first, how did we get to have a construction mafia? White-owned establishments, suppliers, consultants, finance, etc. have gate-kept the industry. The natives have nowhere to go. Check who does shop fitting for Pick and Pay, banks, ShopRite, malls, etc. And government is not helping. And this one from General Ndlela says, there are no construction mafias. What you have is local, regional, provincial business people who are mostly overlooked for tenders. They have since organized themselves into legitimate forums, structures, and are sharing their concerns. Prof, let me quickly get a response to you listening into some of the tweets that I've read there, but also wanted to find out, do you know of the issue raised by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, that politicians as well are involved in the so-called construction mafia?
Thank you for the question. I have read the report, so I do know that it's listed in the report. However, the South African Institute of Civil Engineering is a learned society. We are trying to educate our members and educate the nation and making sure that we make civil engineering for this country better. So I'm not directly involved in are politicians or part of this or not. I can't answer that question. I do think that we do see, and we hear it in the tweets that are coming through as well, in some cases there is clearly crime involved, else we wouldn't have the story of Mr. Bartman, what transpired on his side. However, there are also legitimate claims where transformation in the communities is not happening fast enough. So from our side, what we think needs to happen is that much earlier in the project, there is communication between the clients, the communities, the designers, and the construction companies, where a plan is put on the table for each of these construction sites.
Thank you so much, Prof. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Malusi, quickly closing remarks from your end, and also how do you ensure that the message that comes across and the message that you are pushing is not being hijacked?
Thank you. We have since worked together with our structures, MECs. We're engaging now the current leadership of KwaZulu-Natal. We are going to have a media briefing. There are too much lies of big companies claiming their staff left while they are liquidating themselves and claiming it's us. Policies.
Calgro M3's CEO said they're pulling out of KZN
it's a
because
lie.
of...
It's a serious lie.
Because of the construction mafia.
Projects and they are claiming it's us. So there's distortion of information. However...
Oh, what? Were you in his office?
Yes.
Because he spoke about people coming to his office with AK-47s.
No. It's engagements.
Were they guns?
No. We were never there with AK-47s. Him is the one that said people must go and guide. However, we are working together. We are going to clean up. We are mobilizing our society. including politicians, to
All
be
right.
part of this.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for choosing Unfiltered with me, Aldrin Simpia, on S3. We're back again next week, Monday, same time, same place, right here on S3.e.